You are very welcome. I am Ahonu and this is my lovely Aingeal Rose, and we are in the sunshine of San Diego, and isn't that indeed a blessing, because we came from snow up there in Oregon. Now the San Diegans and people in California are having their own share of trouble though, isn't that right, Aingeal Rose, these last few days? First of all, there was these wildfires where thousands of acres were being burnt, and a very short space of time later, and we're talking like less than a couple of weeks, severe floods are causing mudslides and damage and death and so on. So our hearts go out to these people. But right now, as I say, we're enjoying the sunshine, and that is a blessing. Have you ever heard of anybody postponing miracles? I haven't.
We probably postpone them all the time without
We
realizing.
probably do postpone
I'm
them.
sure we do.
Well, we're postponing miracles because we were to talk about miracles today. It was something we promised you in our podcast last week, that we would talk about miracles, but we're postponing it because something has come up that we need to talk about, and it is the subject of positivity and negativity. And Aingeal Rose has had her own dealings with people where this has come up in her readings and her consultations. So, Aingeal Rose, give us the background as to why we're talking about positivity and negativity today.
Okay, well, I was in a meeting this morning. I won't say what it was, but anyway, the subject of particular things being compromised by negative energy. Like you could start out with a product, let's say, that feels very benevolent and positive, and then find out later that your product has been compromised. And it appears that it's been attacked by negative forces that don't want what you have to get out there because of the light. And indeed, in a way, we do know on different levels that this happens in governments, and this happens with holistic practitioners and government officials, that they'll get attacked in all sorts of ways by negativity, or they'll be killed. So we're not saying that does not exist. But what we're really talking about is, what do we do with negativity, or quote-unquote psychic attacks? Okay, we're talking about psychic
And this
attacks.
is the part that affects a lot of people, and it's a question that we get asked quite a lot. How do we protect ourselves? How do we set things up so that we don't get attacked? What is a psychic attack? What is this negativity that's attacking us? And then another question that has also come up a lot, Aingeal Rose, as you know, in the last maybe 10 years for us, is this whole business of who's winning. Like, is the light side winning, or is the dark side winning?
That's right. Light and dark.
Light and dark, yeah. So let's get into this.
Battles in spirit.
Yep. Star Wars.
Okay, well, and I think the reason, like I said, we're talking about it today, is not because we don't want to deny its existence. But you will hear people talk about old ancient stories of battles in heaven, for example. And even now, battles in the spirit world. And now, of course, battles down on this dimension. So we're very used to talking about dark versus light, light versus dark. Okay, but in my meeting today, and why I wanted to discuss this, is that we went into the records to decide, or to get info from source on how to solve this problem. A person felt that particular products that he had been compromised, and so he dumped them immediately. He poured them out and did away with them. Okay, so then we approached the beginning of the meeting like, okay, now we have to put some sort of protection around our products so that they don't get infiltrated.
Right.
So the question was, well, how do we do that? So we went to the records to ask Source. And what Source reminded us of immediately was that we had to realize that everything is a part of our consciousness.
Including the negativity.
Well, for example, these particular products, the group of us has had a hand in creating some of them. So it was saying, like, whenever you have a product that you create, that part of your own essence has gone into that product, first of all, and that you have to take responsibility for birthing it.
Yes, but Aingeal Rose, this is true, though, of any product, really. Like, if you make a cup of coffee, you have had a handle in the creation of that.
You're in a relationship with it now.
You're in a relationship with it. Or it could be a book that you wrote, or it could be a dress you made, whatever.
Yep.
We're creating all of the time. So a part of our essence goes into all of this.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if something that you've created has, quote unquote, an infiltration, the natural tendency is, or when people feel, just to go to another example, if they feel that they've been attacked in their own home, right? Or suddenly their environment is, gone negative. The natural tendency, the very first thing is, how do I get rid of it?
Yes.
How do I get rid of it, and how do I stop this from happening again? I'm just noticing a hawk flying over.
Right.
Perfect timing.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so, but that is our tendency. Our tendency is to, let's get rid of the darkness, and where we see darkness, how can we get rid of it? But other people have different approaches. Some think you have to attack it. Some think you have to put fields of protection around yourself. Other people feel that they want to deny its existence altogether. Okay, but the answer I heard from Source is that anytime you banish something or you resist what's happening,
or deny it,
okay, that you just go to the other extreme. All you're doing is putting yourself at the polar opposite of it. And anytime you do that, those two energies are still going to be in play. They're still going to ping pong back and forth, because that's what polarities do.
Yes.
Okay, polarities go to extremes, and then they try to reconcile themselves in the center, and then they burst back out again, and they go back to their perspective spots.
Or by denying it, you're confirming its existence, or you're confirming its power over you.
Well, yes, you're doing that, but you're also not taking any responsibility for the fact that like attracts like. So some part of you brought it into your experience. So why would you bring something like that into your experience? Well, oftentimes it's not for any negative reason. It's for reconciliation.
Right. Okay,
so in this example today, some of these products that we're creating are hugely transformational on a lot of levels, energetic levels, spiritual levels. And so, of course, by their very nature, they're going to bring to the surface stuff that needs to be healed or purified. Okay, so in this particular example, some of those products that appeared to be, quote unquote, infiltrated, maybe were actually reflecting a part of the person's nature who was having them in their environment, and that what was really needed was for some self-exploration in terms of, what could this particular energy, what does it feel like to me? What does it seem to be? What does it seem to be representing in me? Instead of running away from it and figuring out how to get rid of it or dump it, what it's really calling for is some sort of realization and integration in terms of our own consciousness.
Now, Aingeal Rose, I don't mean to be facetious when I say this, but talk about running away from something. Where we are here in California right now, we are quite close to a small airport, and from time to time you do hear these aircraft coming in to land and take off again. So we do apologize to you for that. We don't want to run away from or deny its existence, but we just want
actually.
We just want to let you know that there is background noise where we are. Normally we don't record in the open like this, but it's so pleasant that we want it to be outside. So these are part of the little things that go on in the outdoors, in nature, in reality.
Right. But it will only be a negative thing if we get to the point where it's annoying. When we've decided that it's annoying.
Yes, or it prevents the delivery of what we're saying.
Then we've rejected it.
Then we'll deny its existence.
Then we reject it. No, we won't deny its existence. We'll embrace it, welcome it instead. Because that's what happens in Paradise Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Where everything is welcomed and embraced.
Yeah, because the next thing could be that we would do one of these recordings while we are flying in one of these light aircraft, maybe coming into land right here where we are in Southern California.
In our private plane.
How cool would that be? Yes. Wouldn't you like that?
Well, anyway, back to the topic.
We wouldn't be denying the miracle then, would we?
Gee, this is a good time to take a break. Huh?
I think we should take a break right now. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Aingeal Rose Grady, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about the work that I've done for the past 20 years, being a reader of the Akashic Records
predominantly. I've evolved to this work through many years of meditation and being taken to other worlds, and found that we all have a library in spirit that contains our soul's journey through all of our lifetimes on this planet and others. Through my work, I enjoy helping other people find their soul purpose, look at their spirit, help them through their challenges, understand their relationships, and guide them to fulfill their highest soul purpose. I've written 2 books on this subject. One's called A Time of Change, and those were predominantly group sessions that we did when people had bigger spiritual questions for the problems in their lives, such as what about the financial collapse? What about 2012? What about healing? What happens when people commit suicide? Things like this that became the basis for group sessions that began in 2009 and continue to this day. The first book, A Time of Change, deals with questions that happened before 2012 and some leading into what would happen after. And the second book, The Nature of Reality, deals with questions people asked about consciousness, what is God, what's the origin of creation, what about time and dimensions, what about dreams, why do we dream, and love and miracles and topics such as that. I'm also a personal Akashic record consultant, and I'm also a business consultant through the Akashic records. I feel these ways of going into the records and helping people in their personal lives and in their business adds an extra sacred dimension to their life here. If you're interested in seeing more about my work, you can go to aingealrose.com or worldofempowerment.com. Thank you.
All right, we're back after that. And we've had one plane land and another one is approaching. Anyway, back to the subject of denying negativity or rejecting negativity or finding ways just to get rid of it without really looking into what it could be about. Okay, because as sources told us, everything is energy. And energy always wants to be movable and changeable, and it wants to be reconciled. And when things come into our lives, whether they're positive or negative, anytime we resist or push things away, we're just going to get more.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of saying, instead of being fearful of these sorts of things, why not embrace them and inquire into them? Why not ask questions of them? Why not find out what it's about so
Yes,
that you can know?
because they will answer you. This is the thing.
They will.
So we've always found, even if there is this feeling of negativity around it, when you ask what it's about, it must answer. It must answer. And thereby you will find out what is that part of yourself that you're denying or rejecting.
Right. And that actual inquiry can be quite fascinating.
Very revealing.
It can be very, very interesting, and then you get to learn about different levels of energy. You can find out what they are, and you can realize they all have consciousness. And there's something about energy, types of energy, that as soon as you start to become conscious of them and understand them, they start unraveling.
Yes.
Okay, it's only when we deny them and resist them that they get more compact and they get bigger. So, the information today wasn't necessarily that we should have dumped that product, but it was more about looking into what is it reflecting to us.
Yes.
What is this energy? Because part of what we're aware of is that we are all processing some of the entire planet right now. Not only the planet, we're all processing, stuff coming from the cosmos. If you're in a particular person's environment, for the time that you're there, you're taking on some of the energy of that environment, and it's being processed through your system. And then that's why sometimes you feel great in a place and it's wonderful energy and you're benefiting from that energy. But sometimes you go into a negative space and that energy is drawing from you because it needs your light. Yes. And a lot of people want to resist that, but it's like, well, why not? There's always a give and take going on, and ebb and flow going on. Okay, so it's more about the biggest reason we have pain and things continue and we get stuck is because we resist and we deny what's being reflected in front of us, rather than looking into it and saying, hey, what are you all about and how do I feel about you? I always, of course, I love journaling, right, Ahonu? So I always think the best way to get to that stuff really fast is just take out a paper and pen and feel what it is that you feel is around you and describe it, first of all. Make a description of it in adjectives. What is it like? And then start to say, what do you need? What do you want?
Let me use this opportunity to introduce people who don't know that Aingeal Rose is talking about a course that you can download right now from, oh gosh, what's the address? I've forgotten it right now. It's tw.smartmember.com, and the TW stands for Transformational Writing. And what it is, it's a methodology. It's a very easy to use system for inquiring into those very negative issues and doing it in a way where the outcome is wholesome and constructive and loving. And it's a really beautiful process to engage in for anything in your life. It could be relationships, it could be losing weight, it could be your job, your business, whatever it is. This transformational writing, this method of journaling that Aingeal Rose is speaking about right now, is a method to actually unravel those issues that come up, including the ones that appear to us to be negative.
Right, because I have found by doing this and inquiring into things that it's interesting. All of a sudden something that I would be experiencing as negative turned out to be, wow, isn't that revealing? And some of those things were my biggest transformational shifts. Okay, so, and oftentimes people will also say to me, well, how'd you get so psychic? How can you read like you read? And it was through that, because this is what happens when you allow yourself to feel something deeply without censoring it, without pushing it away, and you start to describe what it is. Because sometimes you can even have a feeling. You could start out putting a feeling down, and as you write and describe it, it turns out it isn't what that original feeling was at all.
Yes.
It's something else underneath it, okay? And the more you write about it, and the more you describe it, and the more you let yourself feel it, the more sensitive and honest you get. And psychic ability is all about sensitivity and not censoring information. Right. Okay, so you just end up that way. The more you look into yourself and the more you, quote unquote, know yourself or know your environment and what's happening around you.
In fact, the tagline that we had on that course that we're talking about, the Transformational Writing course, I had written down one time that it is how to boost your psychic ability into outer space. Now, Aingeal Rose thought at that time that was perhaps
a little too dramatic,
a little bit sensational. But in principle, though, it is true, because this is how to boost your psychic ability into outer space.
It's true. It's all about sensitivity and not censoring.
So the final result now, Aingeal Rose, the final outcome of that situation then, where what was perceived to be negativity, just let us know what happened.
Once we realized that, then we all, began to take responsibility for the fact that this, any sort of perceived infiltration was really an aspect of our own consciousness that was coming up for healing. Right. Okay, because what happens when you expose things to light, okay, and journaling does that, inquiring does that, when you really look into describing something and it comes to light, it naturally starts to unravel and dissipate. It just does it naturally. You don't have to force it to do it. Right. There's just something about understanding it that unravels things. So what we ended up realizing is that we didn't have to do these elaborate protective mechanisms.
Right. Because we
had to just not deny. If an energy came around that was different, instead of denying it, we had to look into it.
Yes, but the fact is, though, it was also a recognition that we are more powerful than any negativity that may appear to be out there anyway. And by denying it, you were more or less accepting that it had power over you. But what you did was...
because you want to push it away.
What you did was, not so much that, we're not saying, don't get us wrong here, we're not saying that you go out and embrace evil or you practice, you do evil practices. That's not at all what we're saying. We're saying is when stuff comes up like what we're talking about here, not to deny it, not to push it away, to accept that we're in a polarized universe right here. There's white and black, there's up and down, there's in and out, there's all these polarities, and they are all part of us, and we are part of that. And by accepting it, but as you said, peeling away the layers, and by unraveling it, you actually get to what's going on really underneath it all.
And it does dissipate.
And then it dissipates.
That's
yes,
the thing.
its power over you dissipates.
Well, and you don't have to accept that you're always going to have darkness in your life. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the more you inquire into something and you understand the energy of what it is, that it naturally starts to dissipate and it comes into harmony. And that's that still point that we're talking about, where things get reconciled into unity. Okay, where there's no pulls on either side, there's no opposites that have to engage themselves. They come to a reconciliation point, okay, where they're in harmony now. Neither one's in the dark and neither one's at the other extreme. They're just in harmony. And that's peace. That's inner peace.
That's inner peace. What a beautiful note on which to finish. And many of you may have heard horses snorting there in the background. We're actually on a little horse ranch here in Southern California. It's how pleasant it is. And it's one of the things that we're not going to push away. They need to be fed just the same. So we're going.
It won't be us, though.
We're going to go and
we'll watch them eat.
We're going to go and take care of that. And we are also going to deal with the miracles. We won't postpone miracles anymore. Stay tuned. Be back with us next week on the Honest to God series with myself, Ahonu, and Aingeal Rose.
And actually, this is a preempt to miracles, Ahonu.
It is indeed.
So stay tuned.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.